Big opening, pass 5, pass 10, Burgos a man, and he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out the carry.
Welcome back to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.ag and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
This dude's arm in the background here.
Look
wow,
at that.
You can even see that from the screen. Dude, every day. It's a holiday, man. We won.
It is. We're bringing Monday Morning Football, Monday Morning Fullback to you on a Tuesday because of the long weekend. Everyone deserved a long weekend. We took a long weekend. And so, but if you were looking for real rapid reactions right after the game, make sure to head over to our YouTube page because I hung out with James White, Sojourn Shelton, and Warren Herring to talk about the game. We had almost 1,000 people join us live, which was really, really cool. We got great questions. We're going to try to continue to do that throughout the season, have some of these rapid reaction shows right after the game with Bernie, with James and those guys, with some of our other friends. We got Dave Moorman in the cut ready to jump back in, some of our other friends. So it'll be a lot of fun as we continue on with this season. But for today, we're going back to the old school Monday Morning Fullback, fourth season of Monday Morning Fullback coming at you right now. Before we get into that, though, want to remind everyone tuning in that we continue to be presented by BetOnline.ag, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. They've got every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game is over, head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with over 150 different slot games. Head on over to the website today. That's betonline.ag to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And of course, our main man, Chris Anicetti, and his team over at Oak Bridge Wealth Management. If you are a current or future professional athlete or a collegiate athlete with NIL deals, Chris Anicetti and his team are the people to connect with to get your money right. They do one thing, and they take care of athletes. They are going to focus on making your money take care of itself so you can focus on what you do best, and that is take care of business on the field. Get in touch with his team of experts who will create a bespoke financial plan for you to make sure that you can do everything you need to do to have your money take care of itself. Get in touch with Chris over on Instagram at Oakbridge_Anicetti. That's Oakbridge_ANICETE. Or head on over to their website at oakbridgewealthmgmt.com. That's Chris Anicetti at Oak Bridge Wealth Management. Bernie, it's time for Monday Morning Fullback. For those of you who don't know, we give our rapid reactions to the game. We put about 15 minutes on the clock and try to knock all of it out. And hopefully all of our takes out here in 15 minutes. But, Burn, though, like we are wont to do, we might go a little bit over time.
We want to.
We do. So, Bernie, let's go ahead and get started then. Western Michigan. Wisconsin wins the game 28-14, but it was not without, a lot of inconsistencies. So where do you want to start today?
Well, I think you guys mentioned it with on the money down. It's consistent inconsistency, but for me, what made me nervous was we consistently kind of did. First off, let me be clear here. It's the first game. So we're literally watching the first game of a brand new team. I've said it all year. We had a new quarterback. Who knew if Ches was going to be 100%? The dude looked amazing. Tyree Walker's brand new. Like, these are a lot of new helmet, not a new guys in the Motion W helmet. We'll start there. It's not that easy. Game one is always a warm-up game. We all know this. Actually, I can't say that. That's one of my uglies. Almost every team in the Big Ten, except for Minnesota, which I love, Minnesota lost, so I love that, destroyed their opponents. Almost everyone. Oregon had 24 points. We'll get into all that. So I just want to preference that I'm a little nervous, and I want to be clear. Like, I want to be up front and like, I'm a little nervous for this season. I thought this would be a bigger step. I thought we would have had 35 points. I thought we would have come out swinging. I thought we would have seen more shots downfield. Now, I do think it is the first game against Western Michigan, and we have 2 games to get the things we need to do really well done now and move forward. In Alabama, I think you will see a different offense that will take shots and do some different things. If we don't do that and we just stick with what we got here, I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
So I just want to say it's the first game we've seen of Tyler Van Dyke. I'm actually a fan. I actually love what I saw from him, except for some very dicey shots. But he also took some shots, and we moved the ball because of him. And listen, there was probably about 3 or 4 picks that these dudes should have caught. Like a
couple for sure.
Couple at least. At least 2 for sure that hit guys in the hands and they dropped it.
So my own drops though from the wide receivers, but
we're consistent there too. We had 3 drops, I think, and we're the worst last year. I'll just say this: we're winners. We're gonna play a team this year we can tune up, and that's what we should be excited about. Yes, everyone has been negative and saying things. There's been some positive and some negative. Listen, I'm always optimistic, and I think that we watched this film. We made enough mistakes that you can correct these mistakes and move forward. Actually, the O-line played really well, too. So there's a lot of positives.
So we do the good, the bad, the ugly here. And we are going to start with the good. Bernie, this is a tiny good in the grand scheme of things, but it was also very rewarding to see every kickoff go for a touchback. Nothing out of bounds, and just clean special teams. That made me happy.
I actually, clean. Not all clean special teams. We missed a field goal right off the bat, which is my ugly. But yes, I think our special teams are good. I like seeing Tretch back there to return. I thought he had some good. One was, he got crushed. There's nothing you can do. People got to block. But I do think special teams was a lot more chiseled. But we got to keep working on that. Like it's got to be. You're going to put a good dude back there. You got to block for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Listen, I have a lot of good, which
what you got
might
for me?
Scare people. Let me just read off my list. We won. That makes me happy. The Ches Taiwi punch, 1-2 punch, I thought was sharp. Ches looked really good to me. Coming off of like a catastrophic injury, this dude played really well. I have a new hero. He was always my hero, but he's like a legit Riley Novakowski. You watch him, like he makes catches that are hard. He's the most, what is it? The most resilient. That's not the right.
Yeah.
Most consistent. The most.
He is resilient too. He's resilient.
He's all those things, but there's a word I'm missing. But he blocks. Like when you watch him, he takes pride in everything, and you don't see him. He never gets mentioned on TV, and he's blocking his butt off. He's covering guys. I was like, wow, look at this dude. I love seeing Jackson Aker in the backfield blocking. It just makes me feel like there's some fullback play in play. Listen, I told you, I'm a fan of TVD. I just am. He did throw a couple picks. There were some bad throws. One on there was one. What am I?
Couple potential picks. He didn't. No actual picks. He threw
no actual picks. There were some bad ones.
Yeah.
We went 10 of 16 for third downs. That's last year. We went 2 for 16. We went 4th down, 1 for 1. We were pretty even rushing, passing. 196 rush, 192 pass. 388 total yards is pretty good.
Not in 2024 in college football. I think.
Okay, so fine. My bad. Well, okay, fine. It's not that bad. Listen, we had 35 minutes of possession.
That's good.
That's good. We don't have to get the defense on the field, which is nice. And I think that's what we should be doing as an offense. Tyree's touchdown where you truck those dude. That dude was amazing. Got my juices flowing. I think the defense had 2 takeaways. You got to give them some props. I think they were short-handed, and we can talk. To me, a lot of the stuff on defense is bad, but I thought they bent and they didn't break. I mean, they let up 14 points. It looked a little closer than that, but that's what they gave up. And on our special teams, we had that huge takeaway that hey, listen, you got to stay vigilant. every play is important. And that play killed Western Michigan. That was close in the game. That game was close. I have a lot of bads and uglies that I'm not touching on yet, but like that game up until that point it was 21-14. I think it was a fist fight. Yeah, and that closed it. That ended it. Cause then we got the ball, we scored, and you're Western Michigan. You had your hopes. I don't want to jump into it, but what are your goods?
Fist fight, rock fight, whatever you want to call it. It was a knockdown drag out in one way or another. And I think, I guess I'm going to go with my one other sort of positive here was I think the secondary as a unit is as good a unit as Wisconsin's had as a secondary as a whole. I don't think they threw a pass at Ricardo Hallman the entire night. And that shows just how good he is. Hunter Wohler was everywhere.
You know what? I didn't mention him, but he was everywhere. He makes some amazing plays.
Yeah, he was my defensive player of the game personally. Yeah. And
it's between him and Hallman, because if you don't throw at a dude, that guy is out. He's too good.
Yeah, I think for me, I think that says a lot about Rico, but if you're going to get defensive player of the game from me, you got to make some plays.
You got to make some plays.
Really got to make some plays.
I'm okay with it.
Hunter was making plays left and right. He's everywhere. He was great in coverage. He had I think he had a couple passes defended. Had some huge tackles, just some huge tackles coming up. And I
one on the goal line.
He's he's a beast, man. He's an absolute beast. Let's get to the bad though, Bernie, because despite it being a 28-14 win, there was definitely some bad to go around. I'm going to say, I mentioned earlier, drops. I mean, Will Pauling had, I think, 2 drops, which is very rare for him. CJ Williams had, one that just went straight through his hands. That would have been a first down catch. And it's a repeat of last year. And I think that is very frustrating.
You throw the ball a lot, so you're going to have a drop here or there. But you want to limit those to 1, maybe a game, not 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how we look at it. I'm with you on that. I had it's interesting. We only had 3 penalties. So I put that in bad only because we had 3 penalties. It's not really that bad. I just had to put something. I think 10-7 at the half is bad. In this game, so here, let me go with bad. My ugly, I have to start with it, is you started the drive, you got a missed field goal. That's immediate. Like, you punched Western Michigan in the face and you're like, you guys aren't going to win this game. Like, we're winning. We're scoring points every drive. When you miss
a 16 play drive, 16 plays.
Right. But so to me, that's you come away with nothing. That hurts because Western Michigan gets some confidence. Hey, we can do this. We just gave 16 plays, and then they get no points. So that was my ugly. I have more. And 10-7 at the half. Like, you're letting a team stay in the game. And we can't be doing that in college football anymore. This isn't the ground and pound. Everyone's going to run the ball. And 10-7, you might actually end the game like that. That's not going to happen anymore. People are scoring 50, 60 points, 70 points. Washington State had 70 points. These games, you have to score a lot more points to win. I think the first shot we took downfield might have been to Bryson Green in the second half with like 40 seconds left. So that concerns me, right? Like, we're not taking shots down the field. However, we were able to run the ball. They kind of did give us a lot of dink and dunks. But still, like, we got to take advantage of those shots.
So the one thing I will push back a little bit on there is they basically played cover 3 all night. And they were in a shell all night. And they were not going to give up any of those. They were not going to give up any of those big shots. They were playing against that. And I think, I forget who said it after the game, but said, they have a new Western Michigan, a new defensive coordinator. They were studying film from where he was last year. And they said he did and that defensive coordinator did nothing like he had ever shown before, like ever. And so I do understand being a little bit more conservative there and taking what the defense gives you. And that makes sense, especially in a first game where you don't want to blow it. But if Wisconsin is going to be competitive, they need to drive the ball downfield a lot more.
Matt Burns, I appreciate that. And now my rebuttal is, do you practice against other coverages?
I should certainly hope so. I should certainly hope
really
so.
Listen, and also you make adjustments throughout the game. And in the halftime, you sit with the quarterbacks and wide receivers and go, okay, we didn't plan for this, right? Last year he did X, Y, and Z, but this year that looks like a cover 3 shot. All right, here are the cover 3 beaters. I was a high school coach. When people are in cover 3, you just run 4 verticals and you say, hey, the guy, you don't throw it to the outside. Those guys are taken by the corners. The inside guy, you look one way, you pump fake, you get the safety moving, you throw it to the other guy deep. Now, granted, I'm sure cover 3 in college is a way more different. You're splitting defenders, but they have cover 3 beaters. I know they do. I had them. You can run deep crosses across the middle. Like, these things can happen. You send the guy deep over the middle and cut somebody underneath. There's ways to defeat it.
And the offensive line was doing well enough to hold up for that.
The offensive line, I was happy with. I mean, I think they played
sack,
well.
One sack on the night. That's it.
That's okay.
Whatever, 39 dropbacks or whatever.
Listen, that's okay. We're doing way more dropbacks. Now again, do I think we won the line of scrimmage? I think we won, but I think barely. I don't think it was a huge 75-25. It was probably like a 60-40. Okay, wait, I want to keep going. I mean, 5.3 yards per pass, it's not typically a bad thing, but it's one of those things. It's like
you can't win in 2024 with 5.3 yards per attempt.
I know. It's like we're running the ball by throwing it these 5 yards.
Yeah, you simply cannot win with that yards per attempt. I mean,
right.
The baseline needs to be 8 yards per attempt, and good teams are averaging over 10.
Listen, Western Michigan had 7.4. So I mean, they did it. They could do it. Dude, did you watch Miami? Man, take a look at that. Spread offense was unstoppable at Florida, and then they trolled their play. Their oh my god, I couldn't believe it. That's a tangent. That guy looked amazing. It was bananas to watch that spread. But I think we could get there. Listen, okay. Let me take a deep breath. All right. Now let me just talk about the defense for a second. I think we had two down linemen. You're going to give up yards. We basically said we're going to give up running yards. I mean, that's what we said. I thought those dudes played their hearts out. I mean, you're talking about 2 down linemen. What do they have, 4 or 5 linebackers on the field? That's not a mixture to defeat 5 big, heavy guys. So I think we played that way because we could. I don't think that's going to last if we're going to go into bigger games against Big Ten. I'm very nervous about that. However, the linebackers, I think people played really well. The linebackers, the DBs I think are amazing. I love them. I think the linebackers played well. Listen, we said we're going to give you the running lanes because we have 2 linemen. We just said that, and we did.
There were a couple run fits that looked like last year. That I saw one of them. Jaheim Thomas just completely overran it, giving a huge gap in the middle for I forget if it was a big gain or a touchdown from Western Michigan, but I saw that and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I really don't want a redux of last year. I think my biggest issue is that even the 2 down linemen were getting washed too often, and aren't staying square. And I think Warren did a really good job talking about this on the post-game show. Obviously, he's a former defensive lineman. He knows all that stuff really well. But the thing is that they're getting washed, and on top of that, they're not thick. Right. They're not huge defensive linemen. They are not guys who are really, it's not Olive Sagapolu in there. It's not Keanu Benton in there. It's not guys who are just going to be blocks of granite. And that's concerning. That's really concerning.
Well, when you put 2 guys, D linemen on there, you want 2 400. You want Vincent Wilforks. You want 400, 300.
You want Ted Washington. Shout out to Mike.
Yeah. You want the fridge. You want 2 fridges.
Listen, the fridge would now be small. The fridge, if you look at him now,
isn't that crazy?
The fridge in today's football would be like a small defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, the only guys I could, dude. So it's so funny. Antosh called me randomly the other day, and I was like, dude, I picked you for the 3-3. He's like, I would have ate in this defense. And it's true. I actually think two Antages would have been great.
Taj would have been an end, though. I think Taj would have been
maybe. Yeah. But you so like for me, you really need these. Again, I don't think this is our defense moving forward the whole year. I don't think it can stand up to Alabama, any other Big Ten teams. 5 big linemen. You got to think about it. You can have tight ends and backs block linebackers. So you are, in essence, having 5-on-2. I think it's unfair. I completely agree with Warren. We have to do something to, not get blown up. But you're asking a 290-pound guy to take on 2 potential 290-pound guys. It's just not fair.
You're not 330-pound guys against Alabama.
But you're not. You're setting him up to not be able to hold his ground, stay square. It's very difficult to do your job when you're taking that beating.
Yeah.
And you're right. We need some of these we just need a 330-pound guy to just sit there.
Simply, they don't have the bodies for that.
They don't.
The way it stands.
And again, you're right. I think I didn't mention it because it was like a couple run fits. So I wasn't like last year where it was like every run fit.
Definitely not.
They over pursued people trying to make plays. Listen, here's a good thing. You can take this film and you can really dissect it and say, guys, first off, one, Matt Perkins, do you agree or disagree? We're much better than we were last year.
I would say we are better. I don't know if it's much better.
Fine,
but
I'll take it.
I will say maybe 1 standard deviation better as it stands.
Okay, but we're better than last year. So I'll take it. It's game 1. We're better than last year. And I think you take these films. Listen, this is such a learning opportunity. I say it all the time. Film, if you take it seriously, which Coach White did, we took it dead seriously. He graded every play. We watched it 50 times. We talked about it. We had conversation. He said, Coach White would say, look, Bernie, your hand is too far outside by 6 inches. Like he dissected these things. And I would assume that they are doing that, right? And then you're going to go in and say, all right, here are the 10 mistakes we made. Let's tie this up. All right, maybe the coaches, hey, they came out in a completely different coverage. We weren't prepared for it. What's our preparation like next week? All right, we have to literally go through maybe everything that somebody can throw at us. That's just what you have to do. Let me just go through the ugly because we're running out of time. I think 0 points in the first quarter. It's I hate that. 10-7 at half. You're letting a team stick with you. We can't do that. Losing in the fourth quarter, scary, very scary, because you're literally saying to a team, if they make one more play, imagine if we fumble a punt. The game could be over. Like, we could lose. So I don't like that. I don't want to feel like we could lose the whole game. And I felt like that the whole time. I actually didn't. I felt like we were going to win because we were just playing better. But just because we play better doesn't mean you win every game. And that is why football is the best sport. And I'll just say we got to score more points. I mean, we scored enough points to win, and I'll always say it. That's all you have to do in this world. However, if you look at the Big Ten, I mean, Iowa scored 40 points. Who the hell is Iowa? They scored 40 points all last year. Maryland had 50 points. Now, granted, their opponents are not these, amazing opponents.
Yeah, neither was ours.
But again, neither was ours. What did Rutgers have? They had like 60 points. I mean, you're sorry. Oh, whoops. Sorry, Carrie. I get a little juiced up here. We'll have to bleep that out. But freaking Rutgers scored over 50 points. Who the hell is Rutgers? Nebraska 40, OSU 52, Purdue 49. Like, who is Purdue to score 49? Penn State 34. I mean, the only one we have that's like at least a little bit. Michigan had only 30, and Oregon had 24. So like
UCLA had 16.
Oh, sorry, but they still won. I mean, granted, listen, every team in the Big Ten won except for our favorite
Minnesota,
team.
which is great.
It's great. It really is great. But listen, again, 75% of the Big Ten scored 30+ points. We got to be there. I mean, we have to make, if that field goal goes in, we're 31 points. I'm happy with 31 points. I don't think you are. Maybe 35 is that number. But we got to find ways to get in the end zone, and we got to find ways to make sure every field goal is made.
38 is my magic number.
So it's a hard. I mean, listen, it's a hard number to do, but I think we can do it.
It shouldn't be against Western Michigan. It shouldn't be against South Dakota this coming week.
I think we should do a segment that says, should we do for next? I mean, like, here's maybe not, but here's my advice. South Dakota, I want to tie everything up and make our execution so much better. Make some of those mistakes, make some of those potential touchdown, interception throws. Don't do any of that stuff. Really look good, but also tell our guys, we got to win this game. This is a sandwich game, which we always used to say, like, you played your first game. Now you have Alabama. You cannot overlook South Dakota because they're going to be hungry. I mean, they got nothing to lose.
And they're a top 10 team in FCS.
So you got to take this dead serious, but we have to tie this stuff up. And we have to play good because we need to use this as a stepping stone to get ready for one of the best teams in the nation.
I mean, on top of that, I mean, they're FCS team, but South Dakota ran for 268 yards and 4 touchdowns in their opener. Like they're not going to be afraid, and they're going to try to attack that 2-4-5. And so I think this is going to be.
We can't be in a 2-4-5. I mean, it's no team in the world does that. Hardly any teams do a 3-3. It's wacky to put 2 defensive linemen down with 5. And what happens if they put a tight end down? I mean, then
we saw a lot of, I guess I would call 2-4-5 over, where what usually John Pius or Daryl Peterson was basically lined up as a defensive end, as a wide 9, basically, and they're a de facto defensive end at that point. But still, like you do need to have they need some more meat, they need some more beef to hold up.
When I saw listen, I'll tell you this: Jonathan Welsh was probably 235. And I would try to crush him, and it was not easy. But he was a real D lineman, hand in the ground. When you see a 225, 30-pound linebacker, when I was there, I was like, man, I'm going to kill this dude all day long. So it's also a mindset thing, right? You're a 330-pound tackle. You're like, man, I got to run block 220 pounds here. Like, I'm going to win all day, and your confidence is great. Now, I actually think those guys can play that position, just not on rundowns.
Yeah, Pius. I think Pius is probably the one guy that can, because he's a little thicker. He's 240, 245, and
240, 245 is getting into the DN.
He's getting there. Is getting there. I think. Lowry. I mean, I thought Lowry played really well. Out of all the transfer linebackers, I mean, obviously him and Jaheim Thomas.
Jaheim Thomas had a game. I really
Jaheim Thomas had a really, really good game. I thought Lowry was probably the best and the most consistent of those guys. As far as transfers on the defensive side were concerned.
So I think if we had now again, if you put Thompson back in, I think I think this game is a whole different game. We're playing our I think we had to pivot. So I'll give credit to those guys. They pivoted and they played hard and they gave it their all. I'm just nervous when we get into Big Ten play. First of Alabama, then Big Ten play. 2 D linemen is not a recipe, I think, to win those games. Against Western Michigan, maybe a little smaller guys, sure. Although they had 2 linemen who are like All-Americans. You got to be careful. I don't want to get, and again, a South Dakota team that's just going to try to run, you got to do something against it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more defensive linemen in this game, mix it up, get some guys some experience, because we're going into a David Goliath situation at Camp Randall that I am very excited about.
You'll be there.
I'll be there. I'll be a couple of Coors Lights deep. But you know what? All the liquid courage for me mean I think we can win.
I love that, Bern. I love that. And I think that's a perfect place for us to wrap up here. Some Monday morning fullback on a Tuesday. We'll be back at you guys later this week again before the South Dakota game. And, continuing the Monday morning fullback, continuing the post-game rapid reaction with friends. And, make sure that you are tuning in, subscribing, rating, reviewing wherever you get this. Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by betonline.ag and Oak Ridge Wealth Management. We appreciate everyone spending some time with us here today. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.